Hi, my name is Dorota. I am an A-level student and I'm studying maths, chemistry, and biology. And I'm looking forward to studying medicine or something in medical field. Thank you, Gerda, for joining us today. Can you tell us something about yourself?
I'm Gerda. I'm an alumna of NewVIc, and I am currently doing a PhD at the Sanger Institute in Cambridge. And I'm sort of working on in the field of pediatric cancer genomics.
Thank you. So is it okay if I ask you a couple of questions?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with, so how did you get where you are today?
Perseverance and a lot of hard work. So I moved to the UK from Lithuania in 2012, and I chose NewVic as my sixth form. So I did my A-levels there, and then I got a place at Oxford to study biology. I did that, and then while I was doing my undergrad, I applied for a PhD. So I got a place here at Sanger, and that's how I got here.
What challenges did you what challenges did you face while studying the A-levels?
So perhaps the biggest one really was that, so first of all, I had just moved from Lithuania. My English was pretty good at that point because I always knew that I wanted to move to the UK, but it was still not at that level where I could have like easily studied everything. I mean, it was kind of all right, like I was managing, but sort of dealing with that. And also I didn't have GCSEs. So at the same time as I was doing my A-levels, I also had to do GCSE English and maths. So it was sort of, extra stuff to worry about. And probably the sort of the final thing was that I actually was living by myself in the second year of A-levels. So I had to sort of worry about making money. So I was working weekends all throughout my A-levels, and I just didn't have a lot of free time. So managing work and studying was quite challenging.
That sounds really difficult. So how did you balance that? How did you balance your studies, GCSEs, A-levels, and your work?
Yeah, so I remember I had the first conversation that I had with Eddie Playfair, the principal of NewVic, and I was kind of telling him about everything that I was doing, and he was like, "How? Like, what are you doing? Like, how are you doing this?" I mean, honestly, just kind of, I guess, reasonable time management. I mean, the working thing was almost a blessing and a curse. So because I was so busy on the weekends, I had to make sure that I was getting all of my stuff done, like all of the stuff for classes during the week. So I would literally any free periods that I had, I would go to the library and I would just like do my homework, or I would make notes, and then whatever sort of I had to do sort of after school, I would just do it on the day if I could. That being said, though, it sort of did, I mean, it didn't completely fall apart, but I definitely noticed the sort of the effects of just like, working a lot all the time in the second year of A-levels. So like I had a very challenging first term in that I was so burnt out from working and like not really having a lot of time off for myself, that I basically, like, I was still doing the homework, but I didn't take any notes pretty much the entire term. So like I had, I would do the bare minimum, but I wasn't like keeping on top of things, which definitely came to bite me. And, when we were heading towards the second term and towards A2 exams.
So how many hours per day were you studying?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that, so on top of classes, maybe, don't know, 2 or 3 hours, something like that. Yeah.
And how are you finding the motivation to do all of that work and study so much?
Well, so I think there was kind of no other choice, as in, like, if I had a choice, like, not to work, I would have not worked, but I kind of had to. So then it kind of meant I was just constantly in the momentum. I didn't even like have the time to think about motivation. I was like, right, this needs to get done. But then, yeah, as I say, eventually that kind of energy does, burn out. And I did really struggled with motivation at the beginning of my second year of A levels. So it just, I guess, just needed some rest in the end. So I think it's really important to, not overdo it, and to like have some time, because that's kind of something that I didn't really do right. So yeah, it's important to have some time to relax.
Yeah, but then you succeeded and got into Oxford. So
Yeah.
how did you prepare for that? Because I know you needed to write the personal statement on top of the all school work. How did you do that?
So I think that specifically for Oxford, yeah, because the personal statements and the applications were due in October. So my tutor in sixth form in NewVic, Ollie, I don't remember his surname, but I remember his name was Ollie, but he was really good. So he really, really helped me with my personal statement. I mean, I wrote it myself, but we went through like 6 drafts together, and sort of argued about which bits need to go in and need to go out. I think the most important thing for writing a personal statement is having stuff to write about. Once you have stuff to write about, it's a lot easier. And the way that you find stuff to write about is by doing things that are, important for personal statements. So things like, I don't know, reading some books around the subject, externally that you're interested in, or maybe going to some extra lectures, or maybe you've done like an internship or something like that. Basically just sort of having stuff to talk about. Once you have that, you can kind of manage everything else. So yeah, I would say that it was yeah, I mean, like that was probably the key thing for, actually getting into Oxford, having done all of that stuff in the first year, and then having the help in college to really bring it to that level where, it was sort of good enough.
How was your Oxford interview?
Oh, that's a good question. It was good, actually. I know that a lot of people are really scared of it, and yeah, it is kind of scary because you just kind of sit there and you're grilled, on these questions that are usually really hard, and sometimes there's not even a right answer. But I think that the best way to approach that kind of thing is you sit in a room with 2 people who are most likely sort of at the top of their field, like they're an expert in whatever it is that they usually ask you questions about something that they, know about. So like, I was interviewed by someone who was a specialist in birds and in animal behavior, and specifically ornithology. So like I got a lot of questions about birds. And you're really learning something from that person. Like you should see it as an opportunity to learn from a person who is really, at the cutting edge of their field. So I actually had a pretty good time. I mean, it was stressful and I choked once, where like they asked me a question, I was like, oh, I don't really know. But they really help you with that kind of stuff. Like they're like, okay, maybe you're not like sure what to say, but like just think out loud, let me know what you're thinking, and then you just kind of open up and you can talk. So yeah, I had a good time.
Is the medical research school how you imagined?
So I sort of did a BA in biology rather than medical research. But yeah, I mean, it was my degree was sort of how do I put this? Maybe a bit different than I imagined, because I kind of had hope that I would be doing more of the sort of like cellular biology and genetics and that kind of thing. But actually in the first year, especially, you have a really broad course. So you do a lot of sort of things like phylogeny and ecology. And yeah, like it's quite a big part of the course, and that wasn't really my thing, but thankfully in second and third year I could specialize a bit more into the things that I actually am interested in. So yeah, it was sort of it was different than I expected in some ways, but mostly I was just glad that I could do, could study things that I was really interested in.
So what inspired you to do that and then to do a PhD?
So I'm not really sure that there's sort of any one like person or moment that like really inspired me. I didn't really have any big ambitions when I came to the UK. I just wanted to finish A levels and go to a reasonable university. I was thinking about the Scottish universities, Edinburgh or Glasgow. But then I did really well in the first year of A levels. When I was a student, we still had exams in like January and then June in the first year. And then in the second year, it was only at the end of the year. But I had done really well in the exams, and I was like, wow, I can actually, maybe I can shoot for something higher. And then once I realized that, then I was just like, I just have to do my best. Like, if I have this chance, I just have to do it. I mean, in general, like the thing that really sort of helped me to keep going, and it was really inspiring, was the teachers that I had at NewVic. So my biology and maths teachers were always amazing and always supported me, and it sort of gave me the drive to sort of keep on going when things were tough, or maybe if I didn't really want to do something. But I was like, no, right, like these people are really invested in me doing well, so I have to be invested in me doing well as well. So
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. And then for the PhD, I don't really know, to be honest. During my undergrad, I kind of thought that I would like to stay in research, and I only applied for 2 places for the PhD because I didn't really want to go anywhere other than Oxford or Cambridge. So I applied for 2 programs, one at this like Wellcome Sanger Institute, which is sort of associated with Cambridge University, and the other one in Oxford. And I got both of them. And, once I got them, I just kind of thought like, I want to do this. I want to do research. So I just went for it.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I think that the support from the teachers is very important, and I think I am experiencing the support as well, and it's very important.
Yeah.
It gives you also the extra motivation that the teachers want you to succeed, and they want you to be.
Yeah, that was actually one big difference that I really found from moving from Lithuania to moving to the UK. So like first of all, like the classes were a bit smaller. There were like, maybe 15 to 20 of us, whereas in Lithuania it was like 30 kids per class. And the teachers only like seemed interested in like just pushing out the material, and would usually get like upset if you didn't understand something. And then I got to NewVic, and especially like with math, I started doing it, and before that, math was like something that I had to do, but it wasn't my favorite subject, but then I got to NewVic and I realized, wow, this is actually really nice and really fun. And that's only because I had the proper support from teachers who like said, no, actually you're not terrible at maths, you're good, maybe you need like some extra explanations here and there, but like you can really do this. And they were always very positive about giving those explanations and giving that support. So
yeah, I can actually relate a lot to that, because similar experience from me here and from Poland.
Yeah.
So the support that I'm getting That's very good.
Yeah.
So is there any other, did you want to talk about more about the support that you were getting from your tutor during your university applications?
Yeah, so I mean, so the sort of the biggest thing that was really important was the help with the personal statement. So I mean, there were other things while I was applying to university that were really good coming from NewVic in general. So for example, the honors classes were really good because that sort of gave you like a wider perspective on, you know, various scientific subjects, and also the outreach program that NewVic had. So like we went to UCL and we had some activities there. Like I remember we did like a DNA extraction in the lab, and that was all organized by NewVic. So those were just really useful things for like university applications and putting that, you know, in the personal statement. And then with my tutor, it was, yeah, like the biggest support was really helping me sort of edit the personal statement. So yeah, I would say that.
Great, thank you. So is there anything you would do differently at my age if you knew what you know now?
Yeah, probably organize my time a little bit better to avoid burnout. Just try and maybe like enjoy, like, I mean, I was living in London, right? And I basically never did anything fun because I was just like working, or studying. So just maybe taking a little bit of time to unwind and relax, maybe working a little bit less. I mean, I couldn't really do that, but maybe I could have found a way. And yeah, and basically just like trying to manage things a little bit better to avoid really burning out, because it did sort of come and sort of came around, and in the end, like I didn't perform as well in my final exams as I could have because I was just so tired. So yeah, just managing my time a little bit better and maybe having a little bit more fun.
Could you tell us a bit more about your PhD research?
Yeah, so my PhD has also been a bit of a journey. So I'm at the Sanger Institute where the PhDs are 4 years long. And the way that the program works is that in your first year, you do rotations with 3 different labs. So you basically like do 3 months in each lab, and then you decide which lab you like the best. So you do maybe like a small research project there, and yeah, and then you decide which lab you like the best, and then you usually choose to do a PhD, so a solid like 3-year long project in that lab. So I did that. I picked a lab. I started my PhD there. And a year after that, my supervisor left, and he didn't just leave the institute, he left academia completely. So he went to work for a private firm. And I had to switch fields pretty much because there wasn't really anyone else that I could have done a PhD with at the institute that sort of could, you know, supervise me in the same way for that subject. So my first PhD project was looking at copy number variants in induced pluripotent stem cells. So I don't know, you, as a aspiring medical student, you might know about iPSCs, but it's these stem cells that are basically reprogrammed from cells that are already differentiated, so like human skin cells, and then you add some factors onto it, and then they become pluripotent, so they can make any sort of cell type. So I was sort of looking at genetic changes in sort of in those cells. And yeah, and then I had to switch projects completely. So then I ended up working in paediatric oncology. So I only joined that lab last November, so a little bit over a year ago. And I sort of, because at that point, I didn't really have a lot of time to come up with my own project. I came into an existing project that had just started, and that was looking at neuroblastoma, which is a cancer that affects small children, and it's a cancer that arises in the adrenal gland, so the gland on top of the kidney. in kids. And yeah, so my project was to try and sort of track the origin of that cancer and what kind of cell type does it actually come from or is the most similar to. So I'm quite happy to report that that is now pending publication. So we wrote a paper and the paper should be out, I'm hoping by the end of the month, maybe early January. So that was quite a successful year in that sense. So yeah, so that's kind of what I'm doing. And now I'm moving on to a slightly different project where we're basically looking at the adult tumors and like adult cancer and whether there are any signals in or whether that cancer behaves like more like stem cells. So yeah, so that'll be quite interesting, I think. I hope.
It sounds interesting, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been, I was really upset when my supervisor left and I had to switch, and basically that meant that I had to do a PhD in 2 years rather than 3 years. But I think it ended up for the best in some ways. It's definitely been a bit more successful since then. So yeah.
So is there any more advice for me or for anyone that will want to follow your steps?
Yeah, so I would say that the most important thing is to be proactive about things. So don't wait for someone to tell you, read this or do that or go there or apply for that. You have to think for yourself, and you have to, you know, either take any opportunities that are given to you externally or seek out opportunities. So, you know, if there's like, I don't know, a lecture series that is for free, that is at, you know, for students that it's at university, just go. It might inspire you for, you know, for something bigger. Or, you know, if you see like an internship or something like that opening, go for it. If there's any way to, I don't know, shadow, you know, a doctor, do it. Like, and you have to, and sometimes these opportunities won't really just be like readily available out there, and sometimes you have to do a bit more digging and, you know, maybe like cold calling and applying for things just kind of out of the blue. But yeah, it's really important to be proactive about and be passionate about the field. If you really want to do something, you should show it. You should, you know, you should show that you want to do it. So yeah, I would say that that's the.
Thank you. Thank you, Gerda, for answering the questions. It was very helpful and informative, I think, for me and for all the students that will get the chance to see this video.
Yeah, thank you for talking to me. It was really good. It was really nice. It's really nice meeting you as well.